We'll now add a different type of trim, a gutter, to the edge of our fascia. And so what we could do is we could draw a profile like we did the drip edge and include a profile for a gutter for that. But typically if you're getting into rendering, you don't want your gutter to be the same material as your frieze board, so you might want to differentiate the two. And so like adding the soldier course underneath the frieze, we can add a trim piece that is a gutter, that has a gutter profile, and add that to the edge of our fascia. So what we did is, instead of actually drawing that live, I just drew a closed polyline that represents my simple gutter that I'm drawing, and my insertion point, my first try is going to be right here at the 0, 0, the bottom of it that way, the top of it going in the Y direction. So what I'll do is I'll convert that to a profile, set this as my insertion point, tell it it's new, and I'll call it gutter. Say OK. Now I'll make a piece of trim out of it. Go to my style manager, go to my trim folder, go to my trim styles. I'll start from this wood exterior, copy it and paste it, and rename this gutter. And we have the name as gutter. Instead of using rectangular, we'll go to a profile, use the gutter that we use. Standard sizes, I'm not too concerned with that. But I do want to change the material. Instead of making it the same as the fascia, which is that trim exterior material, I want to change something else. So I'll control select those, select the top one, and make it something else. I'll call it this VisionREZ metal steel scarred. I don't really think that's proper, but it's just a different material that we can use. So we have this applied. I can apply it, and we have that trim style made. And you'll notice in our trim style, we can only put in one piece of trim on the fascia. So we can't do this automatically. We have to apply this piece of trim manually. So what we'll do is we will go to our design tab, under accessories, select this trim. We'll select A to add. I'll select T for trim, enter, and I'll select that fascia board. And just to make sure that what the dimensions of this thing is, it is 4 inches by 4.5 inches. And so I'll select the default trim that came in as windowsill 4x7. So I want to change this to my gutter, and it's 4 by 4.5. And so if I take a look at this, it's added my gutter, but instead of being on the fascia of the fascia trim, it's right underneath the fascia trim. So if I take a look at this straight on, we can understand a little bit more about our orientation and our insertion point. Our insertion point was right here, and so what I really wanted to do is, it's 4 inches, this trim is 6 inches, so I want this little corner right here to be 1 inch up here. So to do that, we have to know that when we insert this, its insertion point under the trim is right here, and so we want that to be relative, and so we actually want to be at 1 inch off and 1 inch below. So our insertion point, instead of being at this corner, needs to be about right here. So we can redefine our profile that way. So I have this existing profile, and so my insertion point was right here, and what I want to do is move it down here. I want it to be 1 inch offset, so I'll move this 1 inch, and I want this to be 1 inch offset to the face, so I'll move this back 1 inch. So now if I redefine my trim profile, I'll go to my profile definitions. This is where I'm going to insert my profile, in the middle of this circle, and I'm going to say it's existing. I'm going to say it's this gutter. Say OK. And so now that we've updated our profile, now our trim sits out. I'll just select the fascia and the gutter. Now our gutter sits evenly spaced on that gutter, 1 inch offset, so our insertion point is right here relative to the gutter. And since we made it 2 different materials, it might not be the best material for it, that kind of scarred metal, but you can see that it's different than the fascia board. And so it's a nice smooth corner because I made it 4 inches by 4.5 inches, made the material different, and also modified the profile so it sits properly on that.